entire session. Yeah, so what I was saying that I cannot call each one of them as students. You can see they are like highly experienced and bringing, each one of them is bringing their own experience on board. Giridhara, Anthony are here from different countries. Anne is here, Carol is here. So Professor Amit Ganguly, I saw that you have immense experience, profound experience in the leadership training as well. So I hand it over to Sucharita to introduce herself and then to yourself. And we're really looking forward to hearing your thoughts today.
Thank you so much. Pleasure is all mine.
All right.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much, Kanika. Thank you for your time and thank you for spending, sharing all this. So we had this quick pre-webinar interaction. So I hope we can take this forward. It's lovely to actually see all of you in person because that's what we were all used to in the past, seeing each other in a campus, things like that. So yeah, so we have a few people who've already joined in. So I think, what we'll do is we'll start with the webinar now, and as and how people keep coming in, I'll admit them into the session. Right, so I'll just take a moment to introduce our guest to you. So at the outset, thank you all for joining so much, joining in at short notice. I will send out, detailed notices in the sense that giving you more time in the future. Strangely enough, today I read a prolific quote which said, leaders don't see failure, they see unfinished success. So moving ahead on these lines, I'm pleased to announce that we have amidst us Mr. Amit Ganguly, who's a leadership specialist. Amit has more than 27 years of experience in the IT industry, sporting a variety of roles and responsibilities. He started his career in the Learning and Development Division, became a training manager, and then a business lead with a renowned IT company. Accenture, if a few of you heard about it, before finally saying goodbye to his corporate life in February of 2020. He's a sought-after leadership development coach. Amit is a mentor as well as an organizational development champion. He is a TEDx speaker and the founder and managing director of Blessed IT Solutions Private Limited. He's authored a book which is titled From Manager to Leader, The Secret of the Journey. To share his extensive knowledge on behavioral skills that are required by the industry today, he has two very successful courses on Udemy, which are called Active Listening Skill, The Key to a Successful Leader, and Start Your Leadership Journey. Amit, may I welcome you to address our learners here and our participants who I'm quite sure are very keen to hear and get your insights on leadership.
Thank you so much, Professor. Thank you for the lovely introduction, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of you. Because I see that all of you are spread across to various different parts of the world. Very honestly speaking, I do not consider or call these kind of sessions as a training or even a, I would say, lecture kind of session, because all of you have, as we were talking earlier also, you have immense experience in various different parts of your field of work. And what I will do is I will share some of my thoughts, some of my experiences about leadership. And also, since we have live audiences here, it would be great if we can make it kind of as much interactive as possible. So that's the beauty of having people in the call or kind of a live session rather than having a recorded version. So if we start like this, if we start with a very quick quote kind of thing, Steve Jobs once said that management is about persuading people to do things they do not want to do, while leadership is about inspiring people to do things they never thought they could do. So often, if we see, this statement actually makes kind of a difference or draws the line between the managerial skill and the leadership skill. Very honestly speaking, managerial skill, become a people manager, is comparatively much more easy. While transforming from a manager to a leader is not that easy, or I would say it requires certain practices to be followed, certain things to understand, learn, or practice. Yes, there are people who are considered as a born leader, who comes to this planet with lot of traits, lot of skills, whatever we call, um, kind of built in within him themselves or himself or herself. However, people, other people who are not quote unquote so-called born leader, they also can become a leader by understanding following certain tricks. Now, while doing that, again, my personal experience says that while if I am not a born leader, if I am acquiring those leadership skills, it cannot be done from or by attending or by virtue of attending a training or a couple of workshops or these kind of things. So because it has to be a complete behavioral change, complete, I would say, change of mind game. So it's very important that we understand the areas. We need to map ourselves according to those points or according to those areas and figure out, as on today, where do I stand? And what all things I perhaps should do, or perhaps start practicing, not do, do is not the right word, start practicing to gain that position, to achieve that position. And while doing that throughout this journey, we need at least couple of people who are very close to us and who will not hesitate to give a feedback to us, even if it is a not so great thing, or I mean, not a positive feedback sometimes, areas of development. Because we all understand that whichever way, the way we are operating as on today for last 10, 20, 40, 50 years, whatever the age might be, are we in, it's not that easy to completely change the behavioral pattern suddenly from tomorrow. That doesn't happen. It's a journey. It's a journey and it takes time. And while it is taking time, I need someone to constantly, like a CCTV camera, to watch me and let me know where I am going right and which all areas perhaps my old or original traits are kind of coming up. So that's also very important. Again, this is for the people who are acquiring the leadership skills. Now, if we come to a little deep into the, in the leadership part. So as we were discussing about, manager and the leader, if we go with the definition of a manager says a person responsible for controlling or administering an organization or a group of staff. While as per Wikipedia, the definition of leader is a person who leads or commands a group, organization, or a country. Now that many of times create the confusion. I mean, if we really go by the definition. Why I thought of talking about this definition? Because if we talk about the definition, I mean, today in the age of internet, we all do a lot of Googling. We all go to Wikipedia. We try to figure out the definition of this, that, and whatsoever. Now, while doing that, if I come across to these kind of definition, for my personal viewpoint, if I would have been in any of the person's place, at least when I also read this definition, I also got confused. Okay, so does it mean that the difference is the number of people each these guys are managing? That is, if I am managing a lesser number of people, maybe 5, 10, 15, whatever it might be, then I am a manager. But if I am managing or leading a group of people, much larger group of people, might be hundreds, might be few thousands, might be a million, or might be a billion, for, I mean, in case of a country, leader of a country, in that case, will I become a leader? Not really. Because as we have seen in the statement from Steve Jobs also, that inspiring is the key word here. So I will give an example from my own experience. one of my team member who was working as a project management person, a very, I would say, routine day-to-day job. And he was doing pretty well. It's not that he was not doing well. But the problem was, because of some family reason, he had to relocate to his hometown. And in hometown, there is no office of Accenture. I'm talking about Accenture experience. There was no office of Accenture there. And this is much before this pre-pandemic days, much before the pandemic era, where the common, method or common practice was working from office. So this fellow was quite confused. And unfortunately, this particular role still demands to work from office. So he was on the verge of resigning. So he came to my office and said that, Amit, you know what, this is what has happened. So I need to resign because I need to go back to my hometown and take care of my family matter at least for a year or so. So then I suddenly came to my mind that I have seen whenever he prepares a document, he prepared those documents very nicely, very neat, nice documents. And in the organization, in our team, there was a position available for content developer, which enables the person to work from remote anywhere. So I asked him, instead of resigning, why don't you, become a content writer, content developer? He said, I have never worked that. I don't have any clue. So then I asked, okay, fine, let's do like this. When you need to relocate to your hometown, how much time do you have? He said that about a couple of months. So then I said, okay, fine, let's do like this. I will move you to a content developer role. You try, give your shot for 2 months. If you do not succeed, anyway that position entitles you to work from home or work from remote. So why don't you check, see, and then if you feel it is not working out, then you resign, and anyway you can serve your notice period after going back to your hometown. That's absolutely fine. So very reluctantly, honestly speaking, very reluctantly he agreed to that. Kept on saying that I don't have any clue. I said, no worry. I myself, as much as I can do, will help you, guide you. And also I will get few people who are expert in this area to mentor you. And you won't believe, today also, I moved out of Accenture almost 3 years back. And this has happened about 4 years prior to that. So 7 years. Now he is very successful in Accenture as a content developer. He got multiple levels of promotions within the organization, very well acclaimed person. So the point is, we need to identify sometimes my resource, my team member may not be aware that I can even do that. So as a leader, we need to figure out, is there any possibility, is there any probability where this person has a different strength, and can we leverage that? Can we use that strength for that individual, for that person? Okay, now if we talk about the skills which we see among most of the leaders, but before going there, since again it's a live session, we have live participant. Do you have any question so far? Please unmute. Okay.
Nothing so far for me.
All right. Fantastic. Fantastic. All right. So now let me move to the next part. The skills. One of the major or important skill to become a leader is listening skill. Now we all know, we all feel, rather, let me put it this way. We all feel that whenever someone speaks, we listen. Is that so? In the other word, do we listen or do we hear? Is hearing and listening similar? No, not really. There is a big difference. So hearing is basically more of a physical process, where scientifically, if we say, sound wave comes, hit our eardrum, and then that information or that pulse gets converted and flows through our nervous system and goes to a particular section of our brain and then get analyzed, and all these things happened. So when it get analyzed and when we process that sound, then only it becomes listening. Otherwise, it's hearing. I'll give a very simple example. Suppose we are standing on the footpath of a busy road, right? So what happens? What all information or what all sound comes to our ear? Various, the vehicular sound predominantly, right? If it is in certain cities of India, might be the honking sound also of vehicles. Now, do we really process those information? Not really. So those are noise for us. So we don't process. So that is hearing. But when someone is speaking to me or to us on an interesting subject, then what happens? We listen. Then we start listening. So we start processing. We become curious. We become interested. What this person is saying. Is it useful for me? Let me listen, not hear. So then that point onwards, it's not a noise. Same happens when we watch TV also, right? Television. Sometimes it's noise. We are just doing a binge watching. And sometimes for an interesting program, we do listen. Now, if we talk about listening or active listening, to be precise, predominantly there are 6 different stages. What are those? One, as we are mentioning, hearing. So when we are just physical process, sound wave is coming to my ear, and then whether it is processed or not, that's a secondary thing. Next is understanding. At this stage, we start understand what is being told or what it is the sound about. And then our brain analyzes whether it is interesting, useful or not. Then if it is useful, then we move to another step forward, attending. So at that point of time, we become attentive to what the speaker is telling, and gradually we started gaining interest on what is being told. And once we become attentive, then we reach to the next stage, which is remembering. Here we remember what has been told, and gradually moving forward, after remembering, we start evaluating what that person is telling or what that information is coming. Is that information, as per my understanding, as per my best of knowledge, is correct or not? May be correct, may not be correct, right? And finally is the stage where responding. At that point, now we are ready to respond. Now, unfortunately, in reality, many of times what happens is immediately after hearing, understanding, many of times immediately after understanding, actually, we try to move to the last stage, responding. Means what? We listen or we hear someone is speaking. For what purpose? I want to respond. I don't want to just hear. I don't want to listen. I need to respond. So at that stage, what happens? Our listening pattern changes. We start figuring out the points or the words or the statements against which I can say something to prove my point. It's not I'm completely listening to that person, listening to that individual. I'm listening or I'm hearing for responding. The purpose of hearing or listening here is responding, become responding, which is not correct. Now, so is that clear? So far, so good? All right. Super. Perfect. Perfect. All right. So next is how to become a good listener. Few points, few tips. There are many other things also, but I will touch upon some of the key areas which I personally found, or people also say, experts also say, is a very important factors. One is maintain an eye contact with the speaker. So, of course, for physical meeting, where two persons are in person or physically present in a room or in a place, easy. Even for virtual meeting like this, I will give a very quick example. Imagine while speaking, I start talking like this, or any one of you, when I am speaking with your video on, you are doing like this. In that case, what should I understand? I'm not maintaining the eye contact. So that immediately that proves or that shows that I am not interested. What is being told? I am not interested to listen. So maintaining eye contact is very, very important. Second thing, do not do multitasking while somebody is speaking and assumingly you are genuinely interested to listen to it. Why so? Because the moment, I mean, a lot of people, we feel that we are very good in multitasking. But trust me, our human brain is not made for multitasking. Computers, big computers or computers are made for multitasking, yes. But our brain is not meant for multitasking. So the moment we start doing multitasking, we are kind of not doing justice in any of those tasks, that multiple tasks which we are trying to do. Again, an example. Suppose somebody is speaking to you and you are working on your computer or maybe on phone or something. What does it show? Again, the same point. I'm not interested. So the speaker, the person who is speaking, will immediately kind of pushed back, saying that whom am I talking to? Am I speaking to a wall? Right? There is no reaction. The person is not even looking at me, not even listening to me. So no multitasking, please. Third, is this point is a little difficult. While listening, try to put away the distractive thoughts. Imagine a situation where we are maybe in a not so good frame of mind, whatever the reason might be, right? And at that point of time, somebody is saying something to me, speaking something to me, which is important for him or her, the other person. And I really genuinely want to listen. Now, at that point of time, what happens? Though the person is speaking, though I feel I want to listen, I need to listen, but my mind is not allowing me to listen. I perhaps following all the tips of physical or showing that I am listening, like maintaining eye contact, not doing multitasking, blah, 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 so on and so forth. But still my mind is not there. Have you ever faced this kind of situation? I think we all have, right? Because of some reason, our mind is not accepting, our brain is not accepting. We are disturbed, whatsoever the reason might be, right? So at that point of time, we cannot listen. Now, what to do? If possible, please try the person. Sorry, man, I am right now little disturbed or not really in a frame of mind. But yeah, I mean, I really need some more time or some time, or can we have this discussion a little later? Right, there is no multitasking, just working on many tasks at the same time, which means none of the tasks are completed in a proper way. Absolutely, Daniel. Fantastic. Very good point. Thank you. Next part. Avoid being distracted by environmental factor. This is easy. When we are having an important conversation, important discussion, that's why the common convention is, if it is an in-person meeting, we do it in a meeting room or in a closed place. If it is an online meeting like this, we try to sit somewhere which is kind of non-noisy or less noisy place. Important meetings or important discussion, we do not have on a noisy street or noisy cafeteria or maybe a pub somewhere. That's a common factor. The reason is simple. Next is, again, very particularly applicable for in-person meeting, maintain personal space. Do not come too close to the person until and unless both the people are comfortable with that. Because what happens many of times, especially at the professional level, many of us, we feel little uncomfortable if the other person comes too close, physically too close to me. Kind of, again, our old DNA or gene get activated. We started feeling intimidated, kind of a little threatened. Next point, again, a very, very, very important. Please, if required, please take note. Now, this note, this part has two sides of the coin. One, taking note shows or proves that I am interested. I am making the point and also will help me to remember what has been discussed or what has been told. Point taken. Now, many of us, including me earlier, I had a habit of taking loads of notes. Try to write down everything, whatever the person on the other side is saying, be it in a meeting, be it in a training class or anywhere. As a result of that, what happened is our writing speed always much slower than the speed in which the person is speaking, right? So the more and more notes notes I am taking or writing down means what? Gradually there is a gap started building up. So the person who is speaking, that person is moving ahead and I am going behind. And after some time, we will realize that we are not listening. Our focus is into taking notes. So take notes if required. If possible, if you feel the point is very important, please feel free to tell the speaker, can you please pause for a second? And just, I want to just, write it down this point. This is very important for me. There's nothing wrong into it, right? Then seek clarification. Do not assume things, please, please, please. Assumption is a dangerous thing. The more and more we assume, if we are lucky, if we assume rightly, correctly, fine, we are very lucky. But most of the cases, our assumption and the reality is little different. And the more we assume, what happens? We move away from the reality, from the real fact. So, if you are not clear, please feel free to seek clarification. Can you please repeat? Can you please tell these little details? I have not understood this. There's nothing wrong. There is nothing wrong. I still remember one statement which one of our professor has told during our college days. He told that, look, questions doesn't have any classification. Questions cannot be a good question, bad question, intelligent question, stupid question, nothing of that sort. Questions are always questions. It has only one classification, one category, question. Answers can be a stupid answer or a good answer. So when I have any doubt, there is nothing wrong asking question. Nobody is going to judge me if I ask question. Oh, how stupid Amit is. It's such a simple thing he could not understand. Even if someone judges, forget it. It's my onus to understand. It's my responsibility to understand. So seeking clarification is very important. And finally, please do not be judgmental. So being judgmental, many of times, again, we do the same mistake. We become judgmental about people. Again, let me very quickly give an example. Suppose one of my team member came to me to speak on certain things. Or maybe if I'm a lecturer or professor in a university, one of my student came, colleague came, whoever. Now I know that individual has a habit of blabbering before coming to the point, and many of times that person doesn't have any concrete points to speak. Now what happens? We frame a judgmental thought about that person. Oh no, again Amit has come, this fellow will still again blabber for half an hour and is of no use. So what happens? I framed a judgmental mind. So what will happen? I will not listen. For sure, I will not listen, 100%. Because I already had framed the mind, or I have a judgmental thought about that person. it may so happen that this time, for a change, perhaps, that person has something interesting or something good to say. So if we don't listen, then what is happening? Or why are we not listening? Perhaps because of the judgmental thought. Very difficult. I agree. Very difficult. But that is the reason I am saying that these kind of changes are life changes. It cannot happen overnight. I attended a class, I attended a program, and then from tomorrow I become a listener, active listener. Doesn't happen, unfortunately. Right? So it takes time. So this is one more point. So not being judgmental. So this is nutshell, very, very, very briefly about listening part. Now, before moving to the other segment, again, how things are going. Is it good? Any question, any thoughts, any discussion? Okay, so I assume silence means nothing or none. Everything is good. So the next part, we are going to move another trait or another behavioral part is empathy. Or rather, not only empathy. Empathy is not the right word, sorry. It's more of an emotional intelligence part. So, again, there's a lot of different schools of thoughts. I am not saying that it has to be, yes, mindfulness, absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Yes. Now, there are multiple schools of thought about EI, emotional intelligence. First of all, a lot of people say there is nothing called emotional intelligence. But let's keep those debates aside. Now, why I personally feel, and a lot of other experts feel, that emotional intelligence is important for or to be a good leader is I need to feel what the other person is feeling. I will again give an example. About 6-7 years back, there was a town hall, again with Accenture. There was a town hall. And at that point of time, a town hall for entire India staff. I mean, of course, location wise. So I was in Bangalore, or I am in Bangalore. So in Bangalore, our India head was addressing all the Bangalore employees in a huge place. So and those days, particular technology function was not doing that great. So one of the person asked the India head that, you know what, for this particular function, people are not getting good hike. So people are kind of getting demotivated. So what is your thought on it? A valid question. Again, if we say there are two sides of the coin always, as always, one is that particular technology is not doing well. So obviously, as a business, you can't give a good hike, or you can't, perhaps for a very long time, you can carry them on your shoulder also. But on the other side, what are we doing to ensure that those people are, I would say, given an opportunity, whether we are giving them an opportunity to move to a different skill set, which perhaps is a more demanding skill set in the market, right? If I am sitting on a dead skill, then perhaps today, tomorrow, or day after tomorrow, my job will be redundant and I will be thrown out. Not only from one organization, perhaps I will not get any job anywhere, right? And we have seen plenty of examples in terms of technology in our lifetime. Now, what needs to be done? We need to identify, someone needs to guide at least. Either some people will identify of their own, or else as a leader, I need to guide them that, okay, instead of doing this, you do this. Now, what our India head said, I actually hate that person like anything. Sorry about it. So he said, I don't care. Accenture India is more than 100,000 people. If a few hundred people are not satisfied, not happy, I don't care. There are, if we want, we can replace them in no time. Now, is it a good answer? Where he lacks empathy,
Empathy.
right? He has not thought that from what point, what feeling that person is asking the question. So that's why empathy is very important. Now, next part is, if we move on, after empathy, or rather to become, or not empathy, I would say, let's put it this way, to better equipped with, in terms of emotional intelligence, there are few factors. There are few things which actually prevent us to be little low in the EI part, or EQ part, emotional quotient, if we call it. One is, many of us, we have a limiting belief. For example, in my school days, perhaps I was not well in maths. So it goes to my mind that I am not good in maths. I will never be able to, build my career or do something which has maths involved in any some or other way. Now, is it true? Maybe, may not be. But if I don't give a try at later point of time, until it is proven, in that case, it becomes a limiting belief, right? So if we have a limiting belief, we need to first identify whether it's a limiting belief or it's a genuine fact. If it is a genuine fact, then fine. Perfect. But if it is a limiting belief, in that case, what should I do? Should I just throw it or cut that limiting belief away? No. Many of us, we make that mistake. We try to cut that limiting belief away straight. Now remember, limiting beliefs are, or any belief system, are actually like the legs of a table. Now, we have a table with 4 legs. Suddenly, if we cut one leg, will the table remain stabilized? No. It kind of gets destabilized, right? So what we need to do, if that leg is faulty, I need to replace the leg, not just get rid of the leg, right? So limiting belief also is exactly same. So I need to replace the limiting belief with an alternative belief, which actually helps me to think better. And then trying to find out an evidence which will prove that is it my limiting belief or is it a genuine thing. And also find out a proof which will support the new belief system also. So once we do that, then it becomes easy. Then we actually successfully replace the leg of the table, not just throwing that leg away, kind of. So that's also very important. Many of times the common mistake we do is we kind of either try to throw away the leg of the table, or try to manage with that, right? So both are equally, I would say, not right. I will not say use the word wrong, not right. It leads to other complications predominantly. Now, if I talk about, again, coming back to the core areas of leadership, the leaders which we often see around us shows certain traits. What are those traits? One is self-awareness. They are aware about what is the capabilities of that individual, what all things I am good at, and most importantly, what all things I am not good at. Now, to become a leader, do I need to be good at everything? No, not at all. You think about the great personalities or great leaders who runs huge organizations. Again, there is a saying, I forgot who said that, but he said that I do not know everything happens or how everything happens in my organization. I don't know. I know certain part of it. But What I did is I found more smart guys or smarter guys who knows various different pockets of areas very well and employ them in my company and make them in charge for those departments. So I don't need to know everything. If I know certain areas which is really required to for me to know and to operate, good enough. I don't have to get my hand dirty everywhere. If I am running a steel plant, if I really need to know each and every areas of a steel plant, do I need to know in the sense, do I have a hands-on experience in each of every areas? No, not required. Right. So that part is very important. So self-awareness. Second, self-regulation. How we behave. So self-regulation, a lot of time related with YI part. Again, I will give another example, which is kind of related with self-regulation. We often react to certain situation in certain different ways, right? And many of times, especially when we react little abruptly, not so perhaps in the right way, which we realize after some time, we blame the situation or blame the other person. Because of that situation, because of that other person, I kind of got worked up and got angry and got blah, 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 whatever happened. Now, is it really the situation? Is it really the other person? Might be, but not 100% correct. Why does it happen? Because most of the time, especially those situations which are not so welcomed by me, we see it from one perspective, not from different perspective. So again, what we should start practicing, not learning, practicing. See, we all know about all these things. These are not new things completely, right? I am not Isaac Newton, so I am discovering something new. So we all know all about these things. So what we need to do is start practicing seeing things from a different perspective. I will give an example which is very India specific example, or rather India subcontinent specific example. Those who have never been to India perhaps not been able to kind of relate. In India, a lot of times people honk on the road. Even if the signal is red, sometimes people honk. Or the moment the signal turns green, even my vehicle is say fifth or sixth in the queue, there are 5-6 vehicles in front of me, people start honking as if automatically everybody will fly the moment signal turns green. Now, what happens? We get irritated many of times. Think from a different perspective. Instead of getting into a fight or getting into worked up, irritated kind of situation, let's think whether it is correct or not. We don't bother. We don't care. Let's think that the person who is honking, somebody very close, near and dear of that person is not well. And this person is really in a hurry to go back home or hospital, wherever that person is going. And that person mentally is very agitated, irritated kind of frame of mind. Then perhaps that's why this person is honking. The moment we'll think this way, automatically our anger level, our frustration level or whatsoever it might be will come down, will go down. So again, start practicing looking at any situation, any damn situation which kind of triggers my anger or my frustration or my irritation kind of thing from different perspective. And choose one perspective. Again, I am saying it may not be correct. We don't need to go back and recheck. Is this the reason you are doing this? Not required. This is for our own peace of mind. Try to figure out that, or not figure out, sorry, I'm sorry. Try to believe that this is the right perspective or right reason for that person behaving that way. So that will calm my mind down, kind of bring my anger down. So what will happen? That is called self-regulation. I will not react. I will not react very abruptly. Third factor, motivation. Almost all the leaders, whatever the situation might be, they're always motivated. So as at the very beginning, you were saying that failures, they don't look at the failures. They don't consider that this is a failure. This is a new learning. The moment we use the word, this is a failure is a negative word. It hurts. It hurts us. It kind of, we start, if we have multiple so-called failures in life, we started believing that I myself is a failure. I can't do anything. But the moment we will say, or we'll start believing that is a new learning, then what happens? Learning is a positive word. So we stayed motivated, kind of. So motivation is another important thing. Empathy, we have spoken. Most of the leaders, they have, not all, most of the leaders, they have something called social skill. What do we mean by social skill? Are they good in social media? No. Social skill and social media are two different things altogether. So social skill means they have the ability to speak to a complete unknown person if required. So when we travel from one place to another, whatever the means of travel might be, not by car, of course, by public transport, be it a bus, be it a train, be it an aeroplane, whatever it might be. So what we do, there you'll always find some people who always try to speak to the people who are sitting next to him or her. Whatever. Hi, hello, how are you doing? Where are you going? Blah, blah, blah. Right? Now, of course, in a flight, a person sitting next to you, and if it's a direct point-to-point flight, where are you going is a stupid question, a stupid thing to ask. But still, as an icebreaker can be a good thing. And there are some people who never talk to anyone, either get indulged with a headphone, and or else fell asleep, or start reading some book, or started working on computer, whatever. Now, the first category of people who have good social skill. Why that is important? The more and more we interact with people, our network increases. To be a good leader, I should or need to have a good network. Why? Because again, it's not necessarily when a challenging situation comes in my life or in the organization, wherever I am working, or for the country, whatever it might be, it's not necessarily that the answer or the solution is known. Either I have experienced or some of my colleagues have experienced, not necessarily. It could be a completely new situation. Now, if I have a good social skill, then perhaps there is a possibility I can give a ring to one of that person from whom I have heard, okay, that person has experienced this thing. He was talking sometime 2 years back. So I can always give him a ring or her a ring and find out, hey, you know what? You said something like this. Now I am getting into this. So what did you do? How will it help? I don't have to reinvent the wheel. Whether that person succeeded by doing that or not succeeded, that's a different story. If succeeded, fantastic, nothing like that. We have a solution. If not succeeded, then at least we know X not to be done, because if I do X, it will not work. Somebody have already tried. Right? So that's why social skill is again a very important factor. All right. Now, very quickly, again, any question, any thought? How are we going?
So I have one question.
Yes.
I think we spoke, little about how do we, to be a good listener. We spoke about, eye contact, multitasking, avoid being distracted, and all that. But how important is the subject of discussion? So is it as any major role to make the other person listen to me? Because something, for example, you have interest in certain subjects. If I want to convey you different areas or something like that, so it will be challenging for you to, even if you have all the skills, still you will be out of the context. So how the subject plays in that whole conversation?
Absolutely, a fantastic question, fantastic point. So if I'm not interested, again, a very common generic example, let me take now. FIFA World Cup, Football World Cup is happening. Somebody might be interested in football and somebody might not, might have no interest in football. Now, if I start speaking about FIFA World Cup to a person who has no interest about football, what is the person is talking? Now, if that is the case, that kind of situation, I mean, in professional life, it will not be like that, but in a different way. So, if that happens, in that case, there is a way, very politely telling that, say, you know what, I do not have much knowledge. Let's not say use the word interest. I do not have much knowledge about it. So I might not be the right person to discuss about it. See, I'm being polite. I'm not rude. I'm not wasting each other's time, right? If the chat is a very casual kind of chat among two friends, then that's a different thing. But other than that, well, we can always be polite and tell. Yes, so I'm told that have I pronounced your name correctly? A-N-H, An, or how do you pronounce? Good leaders has good social skill and sustainable organizations nourish the social capital. Absolutely, very true, very true, very true, very well said. So, coming back to your point, I mean, does this solution helps?
My question is not about social. Even if you take organization, for
Mhm.
example, I need to communicate one department message to other department. Other
Mhm.
department is not instructor, but for my organization, it is really necessary for me to communicate to the other department what is happening in the particular department A. Okay.
Right.
So in that sense, department B is not interested what's happening in the department A. But as an organization, it is important to connect these two dots. So in that sense, what I do, I'll tell you. So what I do is I'll start with what department B is interested in first. So
Mhm.
probably I'll pick up one or two lines from there, then I'll start connecting to department B. So that is what generally I do. And if you have any other advice, definitely you can share with us.
Perfect. Wonderful. One more thing perhaps you can do, which perhaps I personally feel that department B, folks in department B, or the person, be it individual or be it a group, whatever it might be, in department B would be interested. Let's talk about the big picture along with what department B is interested with. Yes, that. And then talk about the big picture where we will show how department A, what department A is doing is somehow important or relatable to what department B is doing. Now, if I know only what department B is doing, if I am living in a silo or in a bubble kind of thing, in that case, for me, it is Greek. I'm not interested what department A is doing because I don't know the big picture. But the moment I will understand the bigger picture, then I will understand, okay, and also let's bring a success factor in the sense, see, everybody loves to be empowered, become successful, understand the bigger picture, and start feeling important, right? So let's put it this way. You know what? This is the big picture. Now, department A is what department, I mean, you people are doing XYZ things, and which is relevant or very important towards the success of the organization, success of the whole model, anything, company. While department A is doing these things, which are also equally important, and we need to connect these two areas or these dots together so that we become even more successful, and you will also be part of the bigger picture or bigger success stories, right? So again, I mean, give a sense of empowerment. So people will feel happy. People will feel, oh, wow, fantastic, right? We also have a big role to play, not only in department B or not only in department A, but for the whole organization. We have a great role, a big role to play. So people will feel great. Again, this is a common human psychology. So will that help, or do you think that will help?
Yeah, surely, definitely.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, Anthony also has agreed. Now, if we move to the last phase very quickly, in the interest of time, uh, the some of the key characteristics of successful leaders. I again personally is a big fan of Stephen Covey and his book 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And I found that people who has these traits, uh, they are not only successful in their what they are doing, also they become successful as a leader as well. So what are those traits? Many of us might be knowing. One is being proactive. Do not wait for the situation to happen. Think ahead. Try to think ahead. Example, when pandemic hit, some of the countries it hit very early, some of the countries little later, some of the countries very late, right? Now, if I am part of some of those countries where it hit little later or very late, I always, as an organization leader, I always had a time to see what is happening around the world and to kind of gauge that it might come to my country also and might impact my way of doing business as well. If I can gauge that, I will start preparing much ahead the pandemic hits or much ahead of this lockdown and all sort of things start happening. Similarly, not only the organization leader, even the leader of the country also, they also should ideally think and start preparing for uh, battling the situation in a better way. So that, in simple word, we will not caught unprepared when the actual situation happens. Begin with the end in mind. So what is our end goal? Where we want to go? So it's like a Google map. When we travel somewhere, so we switch on, many of times we switch on Google map. Why? Now, if I don't know the destination, can I switch on the Google map? No. So it's very important to know my destination, what I want to achieve, where I want to go. Very important. Third, put first thing first, prioritize. Again, many of times we falter here, many of us. Especially when there are too many things, too many tasks in my plate, in my table. Sometimes we say, should I do this? Should I do this first? Should I do this first? Should I do this first? And get into a dilemma. So we need to use our experience, intelligence, understanding, if required, seek help to understand what should be done first. That's why put first thing first. Whatever needs to be done first. If there are some interrelationship, that's very easy. I mean, we can always kind of draw a flow chart or flow diagram kind of thing and figure out, okay, this is the starting point, this is the ending point, and these are the intermediary checkpoints. Next, again, very important, think win-win. You are having a conversation with your client or prospective client, let's say, put it this way, prospective client. If I think only from my company's perspective, how or what am I going to gain out of it? Do you think the client will ever sign the contract?
No.
No. Because that person is also thinking, what's in it for me? Right? So it's very important that we need to find out a way, the way of conversing, the way of presenting the solution, way of preparing the solution, anything, in a way that everybody is winner, both the parties, both the sides. Everybody has something for them. So everybody will feel, yes, I am gaining. It's simple. I mean, say, for example, even we are buying some television, same thing. Seek first to understand. So we talked about in the listening part also, clarification, seeking clarification. So if I have not understood, even if I am the owner of the biggest corporate in the world, even I am the richest man in the world, but still I have not understood certain thing, I should not shy away saying that, you know what, I didn't know this, or I don't know this, or I could not understand this. Can you please elaborate? Can you please clarify? There is nothing wrong. So we need to first understand this, understand what is being told. And also, when we are having a deal conversation with the client or whoever it might be, all the time we feel that I need to be understood. People should understand me, why I am talking like this, why I'm saying these points, why I'm taking this harsh decision. Next 1 year, no salary hike. Our company is going this, that, bad phase, blah, 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 so on and so forth. Now, before people, if I expect people should understand that, do I understand their plight, their situation? Again, empathy. If I understand, if I see, I'm not saying that leaders will not never take harsh decision. Yes, they many of times they had to take. But the moment they will take the harsh decision, if they understood the plight of the problem of the people of the other side, and then they expect themselves to be understood, then what happens is they put it in such a way that people don't feel bad. People understand. See, we all are human beings. We all have basic intelligence. So we all understand. Yes, you can't expect that 100% of people will understand, agree with you, not possible. But most of the people will agree and understand. Especially if you are nurturing your team for a long time. Next, they synergize with different people, different department, everything. And finally, sharpening the saw, that is continuous learning. Simple word, continuous learning. Never stop learning. Never say no that, no, this person is too junior, too young to me. What can I learn from him or her or them? No. Always keep the windows open for learning. And last but not the least, not from the Stephen Covey's part, leaders are never afraid of losing their position. They should not. They are the true leaders. They always nurture people below them to bring them gradually up to the next level. Because simple selfish interest, until unless I'm the CEO of the organization, if I need to move up, there has to be a person who will take my position. So from where that person will come, it is always better that if I can groom someone who will take my position when I will move up. Even if I am the CEO of the organization, even then I should have a succession plan. After me, who will take care of the organization? Who will take over? Even for a public limited company, large companies, right? So who will take over? Even for a private limited company, there also. If I die tomorrow, will the company also get closed? No, should not be, right? So who will take over? Who will take the responsibility? Who will carry the baton? So always groom people, identify people and groom them, gradually empower them, bring that person or that group of people up to a level where that person can fit into your shoes. All right, so we are actually have crossed the time. Sorry about it. I have a bad habit of continuously speaking, especially for the topics where I personally is very interested and passionate. So any question, any thought, anything? Anyone?
I have one last question.
Sure.
So we spoke about lot about empathy. Okay.
Right.
Most, some of the situation where I faced, being over empathetic, will be seen as a weakness. So how to, avoid being over empathetic? So where is the stop line? Is there any way? How do we just find that line that, okay, this is where I need to stop?
Absolutely. Again, fantastic. So yes, as you correctly said, over empathy is not good. In that case, we won't be able to take some harsh decision or harsh thing which might be required for the bigger benefit for the organization, for the department, whatsoever it might be. So in those cases, yes, we need to draw a line. See, the point is, what is the priority? For me, what is the priority? People definitely is a priority. Now, is people over organization or organization over people? So obviously organization comes before people, right? Because if tomorrow organization is not there, people will obviously not there. I mean, everyone will lose job. Simple thing, right? If the organization collapses, in that case, everyone will lose job. So if I become over empathetic, which will lead that the organization to collapse, as an organization leader or owner or leader, whoever it might be, I cannot allow that to happen. So I always need to put organization as higher priority compared to people. But people has to be, I mean, we can't leave, we can't work, we can't live without people as well. That also we need to keep in mind. I mean, sometimes what happens is people don't even think, I mean, the so-called quote unquote leaders who are actually managers, who leads the organization or department, they stop thinking about people, especially when the organization grows very large. They started feeling we are so big, we are such a great name in the market. Even if some people leaves, I don't care. By tomorrow I will get the backfill. But the question is, these people were working for you for quite good number of years, right? So they have emotional attachment with the organization. We all get emotionally attached with the organization also. I mean, so we should never hurt that. But again, if I need to think organization and people, organization or an individual, then organization always come top. So that is the demarcation, that is the line in our mind, in our head. Difficult, but yes. Anything else? Has it been useful? What do you think? I mean, it is cliche, same thing, or somewhat useful? Very honest opinion. Okay.
I mean, very
So thank you.
helpful. Yeah.
Keeping promises and making the colleagues feel secure to work with beyond his or her ability to inspire. Can you please share your thoughts about it? Absolutely. Absolutely. So if I read it out once again, leadership is about keeping promises and making colleagues feel secure to work with beyond his or her ability to inspire. Yeah, I mean, if we think from this aspect, I, as an individual, might have thought certain things, all of us, in our mind, we have set a boundary. This is what I can do. This much I can do. Beyond this, I cannot go. Right? This is my boundary. This is my limit. Now, as a good leader, what they do is they not only, yes, make promises and feel the colleagues secure, but also inspire them to break the boundary and move not many steps at a time, but at least one step at a time. So does it answer your question?
Thank you. Thank you.
Sorry. Thank you. Thank you so much. All right. Any other question? Any other thought? Yes, thank you. Really good presentation. Very useful. Daniela says, Isabella said, thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks for everyone.
Yes, it was wonderful that, everyone, so many of you joined in. We do understand that you have your professional commitments and there are personal commitments as well. And there are academic commitments. So putting all that on a side and you've joined in, really nice to see all of you here.
Thank you so much.
Sorry, yes, please.
Yeah. Thank you so much for organizing this. Thank you, Amit. Thank you, Sujay.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for your time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate the presentation was good.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye. Bye, everyone. Have a good day. Good evening.
Thank you all so much.
You.
Goodbye. Thank you.
Bye.
Many thanks.
Thank you. Bye-bye.